Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Canon Chatter TV. I'm GTALKS, your host for tonight's show. And tonight's show is obviously the second episode of GTALKS, where we'll basically be discussing the future of 5 players in particular. And those 5 players are the 5 players that are or will be coming to the end of their contract in the summer of 2022. That is Kolasinac, El Nene, Chambers, Eddie Nketiah, and Lacazette. So, we're going to obviously get straight into it. I don't really want to be on the live stream for too long. Infamously, Canon Chatter TV streams are quite long, so we're trying to break up the content and obviously get these streams down to about an hour or just over. But obviously, I can't do it by myself tonight. So I've invited 2 great guests, 2 gentlemen that I've met, through this whole experience of doing Twitter, YouTubing and streaming. So I'll come to you first, Erin. How you doing, Erin?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Can't complain too much. I mean, juggling obviously family, job, streaming. It's a busy old life these days, but
it's tiring as well. Especially if you come home from a long shift or you've had a stressful day and then you've got to put on your camera and start talking.
Especially when you need a shape up, you need a shave.
Yeah, I need that.
Yeah. Bro, Albert, you're always looking fresh. I'll come to you next, man. Good evening, Albert. How are you?
I'm good, man. Bro, when you put out an invite to, man, of course I'm going to be there, man. Like I said to you, man, there's certain people I will make the time for. And listen, I said at the start of the season, there's some people I won't have that same time for. You learn a lot on YouTube. You learn a lot. You do learn a lot.
I hear you, definitely. But it's a pleasure having you both on. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I've known you for different lengths of time, but the experiences I've had with both of you, whether that's been on, whether that's been via DMs, whether that's interacting on Twitter or just kind of being on a stream with you both, like I really kind of dig you guys' energy. I'm not one of those guys that will just get somebody on the channel just for the sake of it.
It's important though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's important. The person that comes on your channel or someone you do a regular show with,
100%.
It's important that you kind of, have that like rapport with each other because it reflects in the content.
Yeah,
definitely.
100%.
Definitely, man. So I really do appreciate it. But look, we're gonna get straight into it. Obviously, like I said, tonight's show is, I think there's a lot of talk. Obviously already, like you probably would have noticed on social media, the January transfer rumors have already started, and we're only just in the beginning of November. And to be fair, if we were to look at the whole squad, we could be here for hours. So I thought I'd narrow it down, and I'll particularly focus on 5 players in particular, like I said earlier in the show. And for me, these are 5 players that their future is, it has to be decided over the next couple of months. It's one of those things whereas with the other players that are under contract, it's like, well, you kind of don't really tell what's going to happen. So first up, one of the players that we signed from Schalke in the German Bundesliga. And to be fair, when he signed, you know what? I'm always one for being honest. I was pretty happy with the signing of Kolasinac. He came in on a free transfer, and one of the reasons why was because I saw lots of positive stuff in the Bundesliga in terms of his assists, in terms of him making the Bundesliga team of the season prior to us signing him. Now, for one reason or another, it's not quite worked out. And when you look at the emergence of obviously Tierney and most recently Tavares, it does look as though he is kind of surplus to requirements. Now, I'll come to you first, Albert, on this one. Just kind of give me your general viewpoint, opinions about obviously how you felt when we actually first initially signed him. What do you make? Secondly, what do you make of his career so far? And obviously, if the decision was yours, what next for Kolasinac?
I mean, the first thing, I'm surprised he's still here. I am.
Real talk.
I'm shocked he's still here. I don't know what it is with our club, but I don't think it would happen at any other top football club, boys. I mean, there's certain guys here that they shouldn't be here.
Remember Jenkinson as well? It's the same thing with him.
And he only went long. Yeah, he was here a long time. I mean, it weren't his fault they gave him the contract.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
It is crazy, G. I mean, you make a good point. Like I said, when we got him, it wasn't so much we got him on the free, it's that he actually played well in the Bundesliga. Like you said, he's in the team of the year over there. So I think his time obviously hasn't worked out at Arsenal, and that's quite indicative of a lot of players we bought where they probably started out well in the clubs that they've played in. I don't know what it is. They come to Arsenal.
It's a theme.
Yeah, it is. It's a cycle that just gets repeated and repeated. And unfortunately, he's another one of those guys that's come into it. I don't remember too many good games, if I'm being honest, in his time at Arsenal. It's been more cons than pros. And like I said, I'm surprised he's still here. And I think one of the problems I've sort of mentioned before in terms of a lot of things about Arsenal, but as you like the topic of the show in terms of the guys that are still here, is and I always like to use the keyword G and Laws, man. Sections of the fan base, not all of them. Sections. They're enablers. We know this person's not good enough, but you know what? They're a good squad player. No, they're not. They need to be moved on. That's the difference. We don't just have people here for the sake of being here. You need to be, if you're going to be here, be someone who we can call upon, be an integral part of the team, even though you might not be in the first 11. But I don't think he fits in any of those categories. And I'm shocked he's still here. And in terms of the wages, that's another thing that kills Arsenal. I mean, I know he's on a lot of money. Yeah. And that's the thing, who's actually been interested in him?
It's not been really in many teams.
No, we put ourselves in such a difficult position. I've never seen it in a football club. I've got to be honest. I don't know about you two, where you can't seem to get rid of players that are of no use to you anymore. Listen, that's not all on Arteta and Edu, by the way. Let me just make that very, very clear.
Oh, this is a systematic issue. It's been happening for how many years? Yeah.
Massive. But yeah, come what? Listen, if he's not gone in January, there's rumours in terms of Edu wants a number of players gone. Whether that, I don't think he'll get that bulk of the many that he wants out in January. That's going to be impossible. And even if you do get most of them out, you're not going to get a lot for them. But just take what you can get, even if it's a pittance. But yeah, unfortunately for Kolasinac, mate, just a round up, it's not worked out. And like I said, there's been more cons than pros.
Yeah, I said on one of, I think it was one of our first streams on Can of Chatter TV that I said the best thing he ever did in Arsenal top was stop Ozil getting robbed. You know what I
mean? to be fair, I'll be honest, he was on job that day. Like, I'm not.
No, he was.
He gets ratings for that. But apart from that, yeah.
So I'll come to you, Erin. So obviously, in terms of Kolasinac, like what are your thoughts with regards?
I don't really.
Was he somebody that you was excited about when we initially signed him?
You know what? I don't want to repeat what Albert said because he kind of got it spot on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I won't repeat that. But what I'll say is obviously we was kind of all a little bit excited because of the team of the season, because you remember, I don't remember who's buying left back was, but it was probably certainly better than Kolasinac, and Kolasinac still made it. So he obviously had a good season. But I was more surprised that he wasn't at least decent in the Premier League. He's decent, like his pace is decent. His strength, he seemed defensively quite sound. So that's perfect for the Premier League, even to be just a serviceable player. But he's not even that. I think it's mostly comes down to is like, I hate the term, but like footballing IQ. It seems that he makes a lot of stupid mistakes and he just seems a bit off the mark for the Premier League because it's so fast paced. I'm not saying the Bundesliga is shit because, sorry for the language, but that would be so far from the truth. It's more like in the Premier League, instead of having half a second to think, you have just that split millisecond to think. And I don't think he's that engaged enough when he's playing to really react that quickly. And you see it in his mistakes. He's constantly making mistakes like every single game. But physically, I was surprised because he looks like the perfect kind of profile for Premier League football. And certainly what we need, because we always needed better defensive players that were strong, who were like, wouldn't bottle a tackle. He seemed like that, but obviously he needs to go now. He should have been gone. I mean, Den just said in the chat, he should have been gone 2 years ago. I'd agree.
Yeah.
Do you both, obviously we picked him up on a free, but obviously he is leeching, on the finances in terms of like how much we're paying him. Is he one that you're happy to keep around the first team squad until come the summer and just let him go on a free?
Listen, I don't even drive, but I'll drive him anywhere he wants to go. Stansted, Luton, Southend, Manchester Airport, Birmingham City. I don't care, innit? No, what's that rental? I forgot what the rentals are called, man. Them little ones that you get on the app.
Rent a car.
Yeah.
Zipcar, that's it.
I hear you, man. Listen, we give him a Boris bike, whatever it takes, man, just for him to
stuff
go
him on the back of that.
Definitely. It's a shame though, because it's like, you know, picking up on some of the things you said, you know, I'm always honest, and I never like to be a hypocrite and say, oh, you know, he's rubbish. Why did we sign him? Because like you both said, I was pretty excited, you know, and I think at the time we really did, you know, backing up what you said, Erin, in terms of, you know, he's a unit. Do you know what I mean? Like physically strong, he's got pace about him. And then I think in that season when he was in the Bundesliga team of the season, I think he racked up the most assists for a wing back in the league. So when he came in, I thought to myself, you know, what a brilliant piece of business. You know, we've got him in a free, but it's just not worked out. And you know, he seems to have been linked with a move away from the club all summer, but somehow there was even talk about us terminating his contract, and even we couldn't even get that right. So I'm not sure why he's still here, but to be honest, I'd happily, you know, lose him on a free, you know, come the summer. I think the sooner we can probably get rid of him, I think the better, given, you know, Tierney and Tavares, you know, their role obviously in the side. But yeah, he needs to go. He needs to go. Right, next up is one player that, to be honest, is probably my least favorite player. And I know that comes across quite harsh, but
no, it don't.
I'm really not El Nene's biggest fan. I'm really not. And you know, we signed this geezer. I had to actually look this up because I feel like this guy has been so insignificant that I even forgot who he came from, how much we signed him for. He was actually signed under the Wenger regime, 7 million from Basel.
Yeah,
and apart from the odd screamer or, you know, decent performance along the years, he's not really been in the team very much. And
he even went on loan.
Yeah, he did. He was at Besiktas or somewhere.
Fenerbahce or something. I think it might have been Besiktas.
Yeah. So I'll come to you first, Erin, on this one. Because did I go to Albert first?
No, go to Erin. It's fine.
Yeah. Who went first on Clash?
I went first last time.
Okay, cool. So I'll come to you first, Erin, with El Nene. Like, you know, what are your thoughts?
Because... Honestly, yeah. I've got a little story here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go on then.
So Everton away, it was a few years ago. So obviously we've come up and it's freezing. We paid like over £100 for the train ticket. So we get to Goodison. So I'm sitting there. The lineup come out an hour before. It looked all right. I can't remember who was in the midfield, but it was someone. El Nene weren't in the team. There was an injury. It was an injury just like in the warm-up. And then when I see El Nene walk out onto the pitch, my heart just sank. And I wish I just stayed at home. And I don't know if you lot remember, that was the game where they battered us the entire game. Bernard even had Ainsley Maitland-Niles on ropes. And they beat us 1-0, but it could have been about 5 or 6. I think this is 2018. I think it was 2018 or 2019. But it was a disgrace. And I'll always remember El Nene for that game because he was terrible. And I just sat there the whole time thinking, why am I here? I've got to go get a 4-hour train or 3-hour train back home now in a freezing cold. And I had an exam the next day. And I was like, I can't believe I've just jeopardized my education just to watch El Nene play football. But you know what? I'll be honest. He isn't good enough for the Premier League. He isn't good enough for Arsenal. I don't know. Like, for example, I think Milivojevic at Crystal Palace is better than El Nene. There's so many centre mids in the Premier League that you can pick out better than El Nene. Some don't even start for their team. He should have gone. The year he went to Besiktas, or I think it must have been Besiktas. He should have been gone then. Yeah. After that loan, that was probably the most we'd ever get for him because he apparently did have a decent spell on loan. I didn't watch him, so I wouldn't know, but apparently that was the case. So he should have been gone then.
The maddest thing, you know, that season he played well for the team he was on loan with. I believe he actually came back and played in the Charity Shield win against Liverpool. And by all accounts, if I remember rightly, he had a decent game. But yeah, it's just one of those. He's one of those players that, you know, I played amateur football right up until I was about 17, 18. And it was gut-wrenching when I had to kind of come to terms with the fact that I wasn't going to make it as a professional footballer. But he's one of those players I look at and I just think to myself, how did I not make it as a professional footballer when this geezer made
It's true,
it.
nah.
Like, honestly,
Yeah, I know what you mean. I
how
feel
he
that way
makes me
about
feel.
Xhaka a lot as well. I'm not even gonna lie.
That's how he makes me feel. I'll come to you, Albo. Generally, what are your thoughts when it comes to El Nene?
I said this, I think I said it at the start of the season. If there's actually one Arsenal player that I cannot believe is still here, it's him.
It's crazy.
That's ahead of everybody. I know people have their views about Xhaka and other players that we're going to talk about, but he's the one player I don't understand why he's still here. I generally don't understand it. I mean, he's that classic saying, isn't he? He does what it says on the tin. He's not going to be anymore. He's not someone to me look at and go, he's going to give me 7 or 8 out of 10. No, he's got a lot of heart and he gives a lot. But I'd expect my football players to do that anyway. But he's just the fact he mentioned, like I said, he's a Wenger signing and he's still here.
Yeah.
Like, why has he not been sold? I don't understand. What has this guy done to still be an Arsenal player? I don't understand it.
Is it the case of, though, what you kind of touched upon earlier when you said, like, we can't seem to get rid of our players? So it's like, I can't imagine for the life of me that he's not been put out there in the market. Like, Arsenal have not gone out there and let people know that, he's available. But yet, for some reason or another, well, we know the reasons why nobody's actually interested in signing him. But then you do get some Arsenal fans, and we'll go back to the words that you like to use, that I also like to use, which is enablers. You do get certain sections of Arsenal fans that actually say, you know what, he loves the club. He gives 100%. He's always, he's running from the first minute to the last minute. So, what would be your basically counter argument to those that, basically come from that stance? That he might not be the best player, but look, he gives everything on the pitch.
I would give everything on the pitch.
Well, I'd be to be honest, I'd be worried if he wasn't giving that. To be honest, that'd be my initial point to that question. But it's like he's just said, like I mentioned it earlier. We have to stop enabling with our behaviour towards some of these players, whether it's the Hairlen kids or Rob Holding being bought for cheap many years ago. Like, you can't stop hanging on to sentiment with some of these players, but he's not one of them. I don't think he's one of them. And then he doesn't come under that bracket, but he's in the peak of his career in terms of age, and nobody wants him. I think that speaks absolute volumes.
Yeah.
You know what it is?
I think he's 29 years old. Yeah.
So Albert, I know, like, he doesn't come under that bracket. You're right, because you know what I mean. I wouldn't say nobody, like, he's nobody's cult hero, but when he does score a goal, or like when he does have a good performance like he did at United, people do like giving him an extension on how much they're willing to see him play. Like, and they go crazy and they're like, let's, he should be a part of the team for the season. So that one game, like, obviously no one really loves him like that, but when he does play like that for one game, it seems like he gets longer and longer at the club. I reckon, let's say we went to Liverpool and he had an outstanding game, this guy will be here till like 2025.
Yeah. You make a good point, because you kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but no, it's true, and it's the same thing even with Rob Holding. People hang on to that cup final in 2017. I said that, but that's 4 years ago.
Yeah, against Chelsea.
That guy.
That's not a reason to keep constantly backing somebody that primarily is not going to feature in this team. He's definitely not going to feature in it now. But on anything, like I said, he's the one Arsenal player actually above everybody that I cannot believe is still here. It's shocking.
You know what? I'm so glad you both said that, because there's so many times when, like, I've had countless Twitter arguments to the point where, people will put up, the Egyptian king, and they'll put up the best Egyptian in the Premier League. And I'm like,
I mean, Salah exists.
Yeah, it's like, when you're thinking, you're starting to question, like, this either has to be sarcasm.
It's a joke,
I'm actually questioning your mental state, because you can't be serious. And then, sometimes I might reply and just say, oh yeah, good joke. And they're like, I'm deadly serious. And I'm thinking, these guys don't wind up seriously. They're just trying to wind me up, and I'm just the bait, because like this, they can't be serious. But for me, I agree with both of you. He's one of these players that I cannot believe. I'm not disputing the guy's a nice guy.
Yeah,
I'm not disputing that, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't know him. Do you know what I mean?
This is also sports. Like, it doesn't matter if somebody is
Do
a
you know what I'm
nice guy.
saying?
This is
It don't
sport. Like,
matter.
let's be
Like,
honest. Like,
this is a football club. Like, we run a football club, we run a business. It's about results on the pitch, and that's what it's
you know
about.
what, you
And for
guys,
me, you don't bring that.
You know what, you two guys make a good point, because that's the thing. Like you mentioned about it being sport. It's like with the Hector Bellerin thing, and I think that's the sort of, he's one of the players I'd say, even if you sort of did like a straw poll, or you know, who are Arsenal fans going to argue about the most in terms of the players at the club, it'd be him and Xhaka. But
Yeah,
I said to people with the Bellerin thing, you know, they said, oh, the documentary and you know the thing for Forest Green Rovers and planting trees. I said, but
he talks about the
I'm not talking about him as a human being. I said, I'm talking about his performances in an
as a
Arsenal shirt.
footballer.
If you can't separate the two, then you're part of the problem.
100%, 100%, 100%. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But you know, like I say, it's Arsenal is the thing that unites us, and unfortunately, sometimes it's the thing that divides us. Do you know what I mean, in terms of opinion on players? But I'm glad I've got two, you know, rational Arsenal fans on tonight's show, because I would not be sitting there having a debate whether or not he should go or not. I'd probably just end the stream. Yeah, no worries. We'll move on to. Did you want to say something, Aaron?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that's why you can't take Twitter seriously, because I don't care. Like on Twitter now, if you see like M5 Twitter, I don't care. Like I just bait everyone. So like the other day, I must have put out a tweet like, "Oh, who's a bigger legend, Arteta or Vieira?" And there's like over 200 like comments and quote tweets on it. Go watch. If you see the interactions on that tweet, it's so funny. Like
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised you didn't get like threatening DMs or something.
Nah, it was funny, man.
I've had that. Literally, I've had that. I put out a tweet about Odegaard and just said that I was like, basically, you know, I wasn't convinced by him. Wasn't really behind the signing. And obviously, when I looked at a couple of his performances, I was still questioning it. Some guy was threatening me in my DMs about it. I was just like, mate. I was like, listen, give me a time, give me a place, I'll be there. No worries.
Location.
But yeah, we'll move on. So next up is probably a player that maybe splits opinion a little bit more. So similarly to the last two players, Eddie Nketiah's contract is up in summer 2022. Now, obviously, I believe we got him from Chelsea. I think he was released by Chelsea, or we scouted him from Chelsea. Brilliant record, you know, at youth level. Absolutely phenomenal record at youth level. And correct me if I'm wrong, he is the record under 21 England goal scorer. So this guy clearly knows where the back of the net is. In a couple of games this season, well, pre-season, I have to say, during pre-season, he was probably the one forward that I was most impressed with. I think Lacazette had a pretty quiet pre-season, so did Aubameyang. I think he was actually the only forward that scored from open play during the pre-season friendlies. Now, he's young. He's got a really good record at youth level, but there's been lots of rumors, you know, at the beginning of the season that he basically pulled out of a move to Crystal Palace, basically because the money wasn't right. And obviously he hasn't signed that extension, which, if we're led to believe, you know, by social media, is that, you know, there was an extension, or there is an extension on the table from Arsenal. What does the future hold for Eddie Nketiah? I'll come to you first, Albert, on this one.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I wouldn't say Arsenal fans get triggered with him. I just think, I said, what the thing is, we obviously know what type of striker is in terms of a box striker, Lineker back in the day. Not on them levels, obviously, but I think the problem he has, Eddie Nketiah, is, and not necessarily just with strikers, I would say particularly with strikers or midfield players. If they don't score, they don't really offer a lot to the team. Because, you know, when you score goals, you're more recognizable. You're in the headlines a bit more. People notice you. But if they don't score, you're kind of scratching your head thinking, actually, does he really bring much to the team? I mean, Arteta obviously saw I won't say see something now because he's hardly played him, but he saw something in him last season, maybe the season before. But there's a lot of games for me where it just passes him by. I mean, he just about scored that goal the other day in the League Cup against Leeds.
Just about.
Yeah, I mean, he had a perfect opportunity to go to Crystal Palace and work with Patrick Vieira, who's an Arsenal legend, obviously. Don't get me wrong, Vieira hasn't exactly torn up trees in terms of his managerial career. If you speak to the right people, trust me, but he's doing well at the moment. But I think his agent had a word in his ear and said, "You know what, Eddie? Nah, don't go to Palace. Sit tight. You haven't got long left in your contract." And I think he knows deep down he hasn't got a future at Arsenal. And Arsenal actually, believe it or not, Arsenal have an opportunity to actually cash in on the player.
Yeah.
And to be fair, if it was true in terms of Palace, what they offered in terms of money to get him, that they are taking the piss, if it is true. I mean, I would have said no, to be honest. Was it 10 million? I said, no. I think Arsenal holding out for double at least. I think, if you get 20 million for him, like they got 25 million for Willock, I think that's a good business. But he actually, in terms of monetary value, would bring something in for Arsenal. I think we'd have to question how much that would actually be, but I would move him on. I said that last season. I just think nothing personal against him. He may go and have a good. He'll probably go on to have a very good career, whether that be in the Premier League or the Championship. But for me, not at Arsenal. He's not gonna make the grade. Unfortunately, I don't think he will.
Do you know what as well? So, sorry, but I just want to say, I feel like everybody has not a fetish, but I feel like everybody has this expectation that everybody who comes from Arsenal is supposed to be some top level player. Which actually, if you look at evidence, Hayland is good at getting players into professional football, into the Championship. In terms of Premier League football, it's not that amazing, and there's nothing wrong with that because, from Nketiah's point of view, but I think that it's not a sad thing that he isn't good enough. Not everyone is good enough for this level with this Arsenal Football Club. So I just want to say that I don't find it sad. He's just
and the key thing with him that Arsenal fans can't turn around and say he's been given an opportunity. He's been given.
He has. Yeah, he definitely has. Yeah, 100%.
The thing with, you know what? I'm very much of the same mindset in that I can't see him having a long-term future at Arsenal. My only thing, and I'll come to you, Erin, with regards to this, is I just think this is really bad management and really bad business that, regardless of what you think about Eddie Nketiah, in the market that we are now in, we could easily fetch in excess of 15, 20 million for a player 100%. Of his standard. But we are basically going to have 20 million just basically walk out of London Colney in a couple of months' time, which for me is crazy. So would you not, Erin, be tempted to, obviously a lot of it now, the power is with Eddie himself because he knows his contract is running out. But would you not be tempted to tie him down for another couple of seasons and then reevaluate it at a later stage?
In terms of protecting his value, it's a possibility, but at the end of the day, who says his value will even retain or even go up if he's not playing? If he can't, unless you send him on loan. But if I'm honest, I know he was only at Leeds for a few months, but he didn't exactly light up the Championship.
Very true.
If I'm honest, I think he's a decent player. I know a lot of people look to his youth and say, yeah, he was incredible at youth level. Obviously, that's a massive achievement to be England's highest top goal scorer. That's something that only he's done. But at the end of the day, do you know how many players tear it up at youth level? I can tell you 10, 20 players you've never heard of who tore it up at youth level, under 17s, under 18s. Remember Chalobah, the one who he played for Watford and you grew in Chelsea? He used to run when he used to play for youth level. Everyone, even, Reece, people might not know this, but Reece Nelson, when he was in the youth system, Reece Nelson was supposed to be better than Jadon Sancho. He was supposed to be what Sancho is now. And look at them now. We can't always look to youth level. I honestly think that Eddie Nketiah is probably a Championship level striker who has to go to that level to probably come back up into the Premier League. She needs to showcase what he can do because we don't see him play. We need to actually see him play, and he ain't going to do that at Arsenal. So I'd really love to see him in a Championship, if I'm honest, because I do think he has the way he plays. I do think he will do well there.
So realistically, what you're saying is then you know, to avoid him walking out for free in the summer, we need to ship him out in January. Given the fact
I
that
would do that. Yeah.
given the fact that obviously his contract will only have a couple of months to run, what would you say would be a realistic price to get to, you know, to sell him for in
I don't
January?
even know. You know, in January, I'm
Yeah.
obviously no football expert at all, especially when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I don't know. It probably have to be what we previously rejected, if I'm honest. You're not going to get more than 10, 15 million because what teams will do will just get him in the summer. They'll wait. Who's really desperate for Eddie Nketiah when you really think about it? Enough to pay over the odds for him? Nobody. Yeah, 10 to 15, I'd say.
I'd say it'd be a push to get 10. I think we're looking
you
at
have to go less.
7,
And
8.
as well, if I'm honest, if we wanted to maximize Eddie Nketiah in terms of the value, he should have been gone in 2019.
Yeah.
2 years ago. Not last year. You would have been 2 years ago. You could have
I think Brighton were or they were rumored to be interested.
Yeah, because I was having this conversation. I don't know who it was with. I think it might have been Chris, one of the guys who does our graphics. So yeah, big up Chris and Gunforce Edits for the graphics, guys. They're really, really good. I think it was Chris I was having this conversation with. I'm not sure if it was him or somebody else, and we were talking about obviously the Newcastle takeover and the impact that could have on potentially some of our squad players that we could be looking to move on. But you know, he actually said, well, why would they need Eddie when, you know, they got what's the brother that plays up front for them? Is it Wilson? Callum Wilson.
Yeah, Callum Wilson.
Newcastle,
They're saying he was basically saying, well, why would they go for Eddie when Callum Wilson is a better player?
It's true. Why?
It kind of made me think that, you know, in terms of Premier League suitors, I can't see many apart from the teams that are practically facing relegation. But even Newcastle, even those teams, you know, would Eddie, you know, in terms of just a quick on the spot, are there any teams in the Premier League where you think Eddie could either make the first 11 or compete for first team spot?
You know what? I think the only team I would have said, I probably would still think it now if I'm being honest with you, is Brighton, because they have a massive issue putting the ball in the back of the net for the last.
But they also have Mopai though.
Yeah, but they still have a problem of putting the ball in the back of the net. That's one of Brighton's biggest problems. They was in a lot of games last season and this season, but I don't know what their goals for record was last season and this season, but that's their biggest issue. And you know the problem with some of the biggest problem with some of the players at Arsenal is they're too comfortable.
Yeah,
they're prepared to sit there and not play.
But we've created that comfortable atmosphere, and I think
exactly.
it's a bit like that amongst the fans as well, though. Like this kind of comfy, not even comfy. I'd probably say complacent in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy, man. I just feel like I said, I feel like Eddie is one of those players that, you know, he promised a lot. He's not quite made the transition from youth level to obviously the senior level, but I'm pretty happy with him leaving Arsenal. That for me is clear.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit ticked off at the fact that, you know, someone like Ryan Brewster, for example, can go to Sheffield United for 25 million. And then we're going to have, you know, easily a 15 to 20 million pound player potentially just walk out of Arsenal, and we're not going to get a dime for him. That's the only thing that I'm gutted about.
But you can say that this has been happening since what? Like when Song and that left. Sanya.
Yeah.
I mean, this is over 10 years or whatever. This has been happening for a very, very long time at this club. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Next up is this gentleman here. I could see like every player that.
I hate it. Do you know what I hate?
Gosh.
No, because I hate. Do you know what I hate? And it's nothing to do with Chambers. Yeah, it's just the fact that when this guy had 1 or 2 decent games at right back, everyone was gassing it, and I was just sitting there thinking,
he was the English.
He's dead. Like seriously, this guy is not even good. Like because every time I watch this guy play, even if he's playing good, I think he's decent. He's done decent, but so what? For every good game he's played, you can list 3 that he hasn't. So what does it matter that he's played 1 good game?
Yeah.
And then Twitter's just funny. Sorry, I just in my head I just keep
no problem. I was going to come to you first anyway. So
yeah.
Honestly, with regards to Chambers, like £16 million buy from Southampton. And over the years, obviously, he's been kind of in and out of the team, mostly out of the team.
Yeah, obviously injuries.
He's still relatively young. And, you know, you've kind of obviously expressed how you feel about him. But given his age, given the fact that, you know, he is versatile in that, you know, he can play centre-back, he can play right-back. And also, when he was on loan at Fulham, he actually played defensive midfielder, where he won their player of the season.
Yes.
Would you not be tempted to tie this guy down? Because just given the fact that, you know, he is relatively young and he does have that versatility. Because let's face it, if we're going to have a 20, 25-man squad, not all of them can start. You know, not all of them are going to be good enough to get into the first team. So is he not just worth keeping around for a couple of more years?
Do you know what? Honestly, I do get your point. And versatile players, versatility is something that I love when I'm like talking about players. And that's why and not a lot of people talk about this. That's why I like Saka so much. Not because of his dribbling or the fact that he's direct. It's the fact that he's very versatile. He could probably play four positions, 3 definitely, maybe pushing it to 4 if you really need him to. But with Chambers, you've just said he had a really good year at Fulham. That's his level, is Fulham. That's his level. He's found his level. He went there and he found his level. That should tell you everything. The fact that he's gone there, performed so well, but when he comes back to Arsenal, he's still that kind of average player amongst his squad, or even worse. Well, he just needs to go to a team like that, and maybe he can shine and do better and show what he can do. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think even though he is versatile, he's still not good enough for Arsenal. And if we're going to keep him around, he's still probably going to want more wages. There's no way we're going to get him like on cheap wages. I just don't see it, because he could probably get higher wages if he moves. So he'll obviously use that as a bargaining tool. There's other versatile players that we can pick up. And if I'm honest, even if he does stay, is he even going to play? Like, even if we get Saliba back, I'm pretty sure we're going to get another right back. Not to replace Tomiyasu necessarily, but for competition, because we obviously need another right back anyway. So I can't really see him getting in either way, because I don't think as a centre back, he's okay. Right back, he's serviceable at times, but generally, he's not that great. And as a holding midfielder, well, in an Arsenal shirt, I'm not so sure in it. But I just don't see him like having a future at the club. But it's nothing against him. He's just not good enough. That's it.
Yeah.
It's simple. If you're not good enough, you can't play for Arsenal. But obviously, we have this thing at this club where so many players that aren't good enough, we kind of just give them a free pass and we say, yeah, you can stay here for 5-6 years. We'll give you a little extension. Then after that extension, you wonder why you can't shift them. Yeah, it's really, when you think about it, I don't know who's making these decisions. It's ridiculous.
This is something that you know, when we first started this kind of whole YouTube thing, there was a time when it was, I think Arteta kind of, not necessarily first arrived, but things weren't really going well. And, you know, we did a lot of kind of debates and discussions about players. And this is the one thing that really kind of gets on my nerves with sections of Arsenal fans, is that, you know, you want the club to get into the top 6, you want the club to get into the top 4, but yet the players that you want to stay at Arsenal cannot get into any of even the top 8 teams, like first team, first 11. And I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You know, if you want to break into the top 6, because obviously we finished 8th in the last 2 seasons, if you want to break into the top 4, if you look at the level of, you know, when you look at Liverpool, Chelsea and City, forget United, just look at those 3 teams as a unit, as squad depth. But yet you're then advocating for the team to keep hold of the likes of El Neni and Chambers, because you know what, they're good lads and they love Arsenal. And I'm like,
it's the same with Holding. I'm sorry,
it's just crazy.
Holding should never got on an extension, and Holding is not good enough. I don't care what anyone tells me. If he left Arsenal, where does he go? It's the same thing. If Holding leaves Arsenal, who does he play for? Because I'm telling you, it's not a top 10 team in the Premier League. I don't even think he starts. He don't even start for a lot of the teams that are below us, below the top 10.
And this is what I keep saying to sections of Arsenal fans, is that you can't have both. You can't be wanting to get back into Europe and to challenge for the title when you have players that wouldn't even, you know, make the bench for teams that are actually challenging for the title. In terms of Chambers, Albert, you know, what's your general opinion? You know, are you are you kind of on the same page as myself and Erin in that, we should just kind of cut our losses and get rid of him? Or do you think, given the fact that, he is relatively young, he is versatile, homegrown player as well, are they enough, factors to want to kind of maybe tie him down and keep him around the first team for a little bit more?
The short answer to that is no. And I remind people of the 31st of August 2017. Now, people are thinking, what am I talking about? We turned down, I think it was a £25 million bid from Leicester.
We did.
When they were interested in taking Callum Chambers, and we said no. That tells you everything you need to know. And now he's still here. You make a good point in terms of him having a good season at Fulham, playing in a completely different role, which I would have thought at the time when we had Unai Emery here, would have thought, you know what? I might not fancy him at centre back or even right back. You know what? He's had a good season at Fulham. Never got the opportunity there. Whether he would have gone on to do well there, who knows? But he's a steady Eddie when it comes to right back. He's better as a centre back. If there's a choice out of him and Holding, it's not even a con. I'll take Callum Chambers all day, but that's not because I want to keep Callum Chambers. I just think, and also again the injuries. He's had a lot, unfortunately. And he actually got injured at a time when he was doing very well at Arsenal. But, like I said, that still burns that day when we. Oh my God, this football club, man! They are not
and
good at making profit.
Albert, that was a great point, because it was only last January, I'm pretty sure, where we turned down quite a good sum of money for Hector Bellerin from PSG.
Yeah, rumoured. Yeah, I don't know what it is with this football club. I remember that day clearly. I thought you're making a profit on a guy that is not a regular in the team at the time, to be honest, and he wasn't back in 2017. And you said no. It still baffles me today. I don't understand it. I don't know. I think sometimes, you know what it is. You make a good point, G, in terms of you can't have it both ways. And I've been banging on about that for years. Like with Arsenal fans, you can't be saying, when they, for example, we made the point about Holding, and I heard people talking about protecting his value. I'm like,
it's mad. Oh my God.
Let's get real. Let's be honest, right? We got the guy for 2 million. We would make a profit on him anyway, whoever we sold him to.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can't talk about you want to get back into Champions League football. There's even part of me, as Arsenal fans, you can criticize me for it. Probably under Emery, I'm glad we never got to Champions League. We would have gone into that competition and been embarrassed.
Yeah, we'd have got annihilated. Every week.
At that time, it would have been torture. But yeah, that unfortunately with Callum Chambers, I can't get that out of my head when we could have sold him to Leicester and made profit.
It's crazy. It's actually crazy because, like, when you actually think about it, paying 16 million for a player that virtually hasn't been part of the first team, bar injuries or a couple of games here and a good spell, and then you get an offer of 25 million from another team in the Premier League, you'd think at that point you would just snatch that 25 million and keep it moving. But for some reason,
I could not believe it when they turned that down. I was fuming.
Yeah,
absolutely fuming.
It's mad. It's crazy, man. Well, so far we've gone through 4 players, and unanimously, I think we've basically come to the decision of all 4 of them would go at this point, right?
You should have got Souls on, because he would have defended on any, if I'm being honest. It should have. Trust me.
So we'll just do a quick count before we move to our last player. So
no, I love Souls. I was just
of course, yeah. I know.
Glashnak is unanimous. We want to see him leave. Please jump in if you disagree with me. El Nene, unanimous. We want to see him leave. Eddie Nketiah, we want to see him leave. And last but not least, Chambers, we want to see him leave. Right. Now, this one may throw a little bit of a spanner in the works. So, Lacazette. Now, again, I've got to be completely honest. At the time, it was... Oops, my light's about to drop. Sorry, guys. At the time, it was a record fee that we paid for him. I think it was over 50 million. We bought
Yeah,
him
it was
from.
about that. Yeah,
lot
I
of money.
remember him standing outside Coney with his shirt. Like,
Yeah,
everyone was getting
it
gassed.
was a record fee at the time. And again, you know what? I watch a lot of football. I often criticize people that make decisions at football clubs, but I think if I was actually working within a football club, I probably would have made some howlers myself, because all these players that come to Arsenal that I thought would have amazing careers, they're turning out to have not so good careers. So it definitely must be harder than it looks. He was definitely a player. I saw him bang goal after goal after goal in the French league. And I thought to myself, even in the Champions League, and I thought to myself, yeah, we've got a player here who, easily will get us somewhere between 15, 25 goals a season. And I was very, very happy, very, very pleased when we signed him. Now, his actual record, now, hopefully this is right, because we signed him in 2017, another Wenger signing, and he scored 68 goals in about 180 appearances. Now he's not been a 20 goal a season man that we thought we were buying. But when you look at his career, when you look at in terms of what he offers, other than aside of what say Aubameyang offers, who is more prolific, but there's more to Lacazette's game. When you look at obviously the recent turnaround in results and the fact that many would say Lacazette has been instrumental in with regards that some would say he's playing for a contract, some would play he's playing for foreign suitors.
I think he's just playing football.
The rumor is that he's actually going to run his contract and leave us, but
makes sense.
Lacazette obviously is a little bit more of a trickier one, especially if you take into context the AFCON in January with Aubameyang likely to be missing for about 4 or 5 games. So, Albert, Lacazette, what do we do with Lacazette?
This is an interesting one. The thing is, we was fortunate to get him because obviously at the time, Atletico Madrid were on a transfer ban, because he would have gone there. He 100% would have gone there. And who knows how it would have turned out. But I was excited when we bought him. The rumors, this guy could be our, Ian Wright and all that sort of talk. But he's been a good player. I think his best season in terms of a goals return in all comps. I don't know what it is Premier League wise, but he scored 19 in one season, which is his highest total, I think. I just don't think he's never going to get you the goals or the amount of goals as a striker. The benchmark is 20 league goals and excess of that, and he's never going to do that. He's not going to do that anyway at Arsenal because I can't see him being here, if I'm being honest with you. I personally, at the time when the rumors were about Roma being interested, I would have took the money and ran. You're not gonna recoup that amount of money on a guy who's now you're just not going to. So if that £30 million offer was true from Roma, I would have snapped your hand off. But I think this is the problem Arsenal have got, because, and it ties in with obviously we were talking about Eddie earlier. Balogun's going to go out on loan. If he doesn't go out on loan, I don't know what Arsenal are doing. But so he's not going to be there. Eddie's is holding on for dear life at the moment in terms of his Arsenal career. He's not going to stick around. But then, like I said, Balogun's going to go on loan. Laka's definitely not. If Laka's here next season, I'll be absolutely shocked.
I agree.
Think he's gone.
I would as well. To be fair,
don't get me wrong. He has that. I like that. He has the aggression and the physical play that he brings, and he does make Arsenal a better team, to be honest with you, because he has a better all-round game than Aubameyang. But I just think for the money we paid for him and his goals return, listen, you can say what you want about Didier Deschamps' management of the French team, but he's not featured in that French side set up for about over 3 years.
Very true. Very good point.
He prefers to play Giroud. So that again tells you a lot, and I just think, he's been a good player, but goals return, I would expect to see a lot better. And like I said, he's not hit more than 20 goals in the season since he's been at Arsenal.
Well, 68 goals since 2017.
So yeah, I know people want to about
Not
but
great.
Arsenal's got that. You can say Arsenal might go, oh, you're Arsenal, and I said, yeah, but you know, as a striker, and I know playing football at a decent enough level, being a forward, like, trust you, man, that urge to score goals and score lots of goals, and unfortunately, it doesn't happen for him. But yeah, I'll be shocked if he's here next year, man. Seriously.
So, Erin, what do we do with Laka though? Because, like I said, it's like we've got the AFCON in January, and other than Laka, he has been part of the team, in terms of recent results. And other than Laka, we've got Eddie and Balogun. So, what do we do?
I think what will happen is we'll just part ways in the summer. I can't see us shifting him in. I don't even think he wants to go. But at the end of the day, I don't think it'd be smart for us to let him go in January anyway, because you're not going to get that much money for him. It's not worth it. But I just want to reflect on his time at Arsenal, because Lacazette is a weird one, because when he plays well, he looks incredible.
Yeah.
Like, because he can do everything. He can link play. He can get into the box. His finishes. Look how many. To be fair, I know he's only scored 68 goals, but there's a good amount of them where you can remember. He scored a great goal against Tottenham, Liverpool,
scored some big goals.
Europa League. He scored, but he's some really good goals. And when he plays, when he's played well, he's like so instrumental, because he drops back in and he's sort of like not a false nine, but he does drop in. He links up the play.
Yeah.
But then when he plays bad, it's bad. You don't notice him. He's isolated. And against certain opponents, they find it really easy to isolate him. I remember last season, do you remember the start of the season? Everybody was slating Lacazette. Everybody wanted him to leave because he was terrible. But I will come to his defense in this way. I think it must, obviously, Arteta. He was setting up the midfield so badly to where Lacazette could do nothing but drop in and basically play like a cam.
Yeah.
So, and he was completely isolated. And the way the whole team was playing, it didn't allow for him to link up or anything. So individually, he might have not been great, but the way the team was set up, I mean, I can't really blame him, because there was no help from the midfield. And without your midfield, what are you as a striker? You're just going to be standing there in between two centre backs doing nothing, isolated. And I don't think he's good enough generally, though. Like, for 50 million, obviously he isn't. But
yeah,
he's good at dropping in, and I think he is an example. And there's a lot of players like this, because I think this applies to Pepe as well. I think he is one player that doesn't benefit from coming to the Premier League.
Yeah,
I think if he'd have went to Atletico, like, do you remember? Apparently, they're still possibly in for him when he gets a.
Supposedly they're still interested. Yeah,
they were interested when he initially went to Arsenal. I think if he went to Spain, or if he stayed in France, or if he went to Italy, for example, I think you'd see a different Lacazette right now. I think you see a more prolific goal scorer. Some players just aren't suited to this league, and that doesn't mean they're like shit. They're just not. They're just not suited to the league.
Yeah, no, it's true, and there's some really good points there. Just going to bring this comment up from Den. It says, like we said, boys, if it wasn't for AFCON, it would be a sell in January, make lemonades whilst he has lemons. Yeah, so I definitely feel as though if Aubameyang wasn't necessarily going off to the AFCON, we could potentially have seen a sale of Lacazette. But I think given Aubameyang's absence in January, I really, really, really can't see us selling Lacazette. Some of the fan base feel as though we should give him a 1-year extension, and I think a lot of that is to do with the fact, with this point here that Den mentions about his leadership qualities. There's been a lot of noise coming out of Arsenal in terms of just the influence he has with the young players, etc. And obviously that is something worth mentioning, because we do have a young side. I think I saw a certain stat that said, obviously I think we have the youngest side in the Premier League. But I think I actually saw a stat to say that we have, I think it's the 5th or the 6th youngest team across all the European leagues. And so, that is significant. And obviously, a player like Lacazette, who I don't think it's harsh to say has had an underwhelming Arsenal career. And I say that with the most respect, in that, he has played well. He's been a good player, but he's never really lived up to this goal machine, £50 million player that we bought or we thought we were buying. But do you think that is, do you think that's a valid point? Obviously, we've covered AFCON and the importance of him being there, but given the fact that we have such a young side, should we not then be keeping hold of players like Lacazette? Not necessarily because they're going to be in the first team, but having that type of experience and influence in the dressing room.
I would argue that case for him. Definitely not Granit Xhaka.
Oh, don't get me started. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
There's a lot of people that will.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah.
With Laka, I understand it more than with Granit Xhaka.
Oh, I swear to God.
100%.
Stop saying it, Albert. Seriously. Don't say
But
it.
you know,
The thing is, I'll start chatting for about 15 minutes.
But you know the thing with Lacazette as well, which it'd be interesting to know if anybody who watches French football, watches time at Lyon or whatever, was there a situation where he was getting taken off after 60 minutes? Because if there wasn't, listen. Maybe there is some kind of physicality issue there. I don't know, because to me, if you're the main man or one of the main men in one of the most key positions in your playing 11, which will win you football matches, to be consistently taken off on the 60-minute mark.
Yeah, it was an odd one. I remember. It is a bit odd. Great. Yeah. It might be a conditioning issue, but I don't know any, because when you think about it though, do you think it's a conditioning issue? Because if that is true for so many years, then that's terrible. You couldn't point to another professional athlete that probably have that bad conditioning that they can't even go one game 90 minutes completely. It would be interesting to really know or look into it. Maybe not so much now, but especially before, because I remember it was definitely something that was happening a lot.
Because at this level, it's we need a forward that can play 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
I mean, obviously, I mean, you need a striker that can go 120 in a certain in a Champions League or whatever.
Exactly. No, right. So we've basically covered the 5 players that we kind of set out to, and I know there was a couple of comments earlier just to say why we've picked these 5. So the reason why we focused on these 5 players, just for anyone who joining us late, is because we're not doing a squad review. We're focusing on these 5 players just because these are the 5 players that are out of contract come summer 2022. So even though we could talk about Xhaka, Mari, Holding, etc., for me as an Arsenal fan, and I think for Arsenal as a football club, these are the 5 players that, in terms of the players' immediate future, these are the players they need to kind of make a decision on. And hopefully over the next couple of months, we will see that. Now, we are coming up to an hour. So the last thing I kind of want to, I want to round up the show, and I kind of want to bring this point to you. Now, I think one of you actually raised it when we were going through the players. Now, every single one of these players was signed by Wenger. And that was something, that I did not necessarily know, but it was just something that I kind of picked up. It was quite obvious once I picked it up. I was like, yeah, they've been at the club a little while. Now, when we're starting to look at Arsenal now, we're starting to look at obviously recent results. We're 5th in the table. We're scoring goals, we're not conceding goals. And, funnily enough, a lot of the players that most of us felt quite underwhelmed about in the summer are actually producing. They're part of the first team, and they've been, instrumental in the recent change of results. Now, but when we look at the squad as a whole, this still very much doesn't feel like Arteta's squad. When we're looking at the first 11, I think we can start to see, that being his first 11. But when we look at the squad itself, if you just take these 5 players as an example, none of which were signed by him. So in terms of like moving into the January transfer market and into next summer, just kind of briefly in a couple of sentences, is it fair? We have a season. We still have quite a bit of the season to go.
Yeah.
Now, is it fair at the end of the season to still judge Arteta based on the squad he has? Given the fact that the vast majority, well, I'd say maybe half of the squad is still not technically an Arteta squad.
Can I start, Albert? Is that all right?
Yeah, go on, man. Go on.
I'm just going to say this. I'm pretty sure most managers in the world don't have their ideal squad, because most managers now, they haven't been in a team long term. You can't use he doesn't have his squad as an excuse, because at the end of the day, Arsenal need somebody ideal for the squad that we have. And obviously, over time, this squad will change. but you can't just give somebody 5-6 years, especially with the way Arsenal do business. Maybe this season was an exception, but you don't know. Going forward, we could just revert back to the same old Arsenal. You don't know in which time frame he's going to have his ideal team. But how many managers in football really have their ideal teams? You can't really think of a lot. Sometimes you have to work with what you got. I judge Arteta based on the football we play and results with this squad. We've played better football recently, but if you take our average since he's been here, it's really below par. And I don't think anyone can really disagree with me. If we look at the way we play football, how many games have you really looked at and said, we're playing good football here? We look like probably a top 6-7 side the way we're playing this game. Nah, we've actually looked like a bottom 5 side in a lot of games where we can't even string 5 passes along. We can't even get the ball into the final third. That was especially the case last season. This season, it was a bit better. But if you look at Palace, Brighton, we saw incredibly poor. So
even Norwich and Burnley.
Yeah, you can't.
Great.
Because if you say, we can't, that if you do have the opinion that you can't judge Arteta based off this squad, then how many managers can you really judge in the Premier League? You can't judge any of them. Most. You can't really judge. You can't judge. You can't even. You could say you can't even judge Tuchel, for example.
It's not his
if
team.
he was it's not even his team. How many players did he buy? Wait, who is he actually bought? Because he didn't spend all that money in this. That was
Lampard. Lukaku.
Just a Champions League season because he didn't get any. He did. Yeah. When did Lampard get?
I think he might have brought in that Saul guy from on loan.
Yeah. He's not even playing though, is he?
I can't even think how many players he bought. I don't think
all of the players that because he's not even playing, and Lukaku hasn't played that many games either. So most of the players that are playing, he didn't even sign. So it's like, let's say Arteta, if let's say he inherited a terrible squad, I agree. The squad probably isn't top 4 quality, but it definitely ain't. It definitely ain't as bad as where we finished last year.
Yeah,
and definitely ain't as bad to the way we're playing football right now.
Yeah.
If he inherited a terrible squad, obviously then you can use it as an excuse. Because what can you really do? You can't have unrealistic expectations. But yeah, I'd say right now you can easily judge him and last season based off the squad he has. Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, let's say you swap Arteta out for another manager, they're getting a bit more out of this team.
Albert, do you share that opinion?
Yeah, I think he's had ample time, actually, to be honest. I think he's lucky to still have the job.
He is.
People shouldn't forget that. I think they're very. I'll tell you something as well. This is the thing. In terms of, I'll come on to sort of Arteta, which is part of the reason, the question really. But is you got some Arsenal fans. I don't know what goes through their head sometimes. So we get knocked out by Villarreal, even though they've previously stood by him with these players. All four he needs these players. We get knocked out by Villarreal. He needs to be sacked. I said, but what? And I questioned someone. I said, but how can you go from backing the manager for that length of time, what it took for us to lose to Villarreal, for you to turn and say he should be sacked?
Don't make sense.
And now the same people are saying, when he gets his. I said, but don't be wise after the event, and also remember we're only 10 games in. It could flip. As much as we're fifth in the league, was it 2 points off Liverpool in fourth? It could easily be in a couple of weeks. It could be 6 points off fifth or sixth. Because with this team and it being a young side, they've shown some great levels of maturity. I will give them that.
They have, yeah.
They have shown that. Even in the games that haven't played well, there's some games that we would have lost a couple of years ago that we've actually got wins. But I think it's too early to sort of roll out the red carpet treatment for Arteta, thinking he's suddenly cracked it. It's not really rocket science, boys. The fact that when you have a more settled 11, there's a good chance your results are going to pick up. And I've been on this for before the start of the season. What I wanted to see coming into this season is, I want to see a more consistent 11. Trust me, it was chop and change last season, but I wanted to see a consistent back five. We've got that. Gabriel, obviously, we bought in, and the other guys fit around that. And when you keep clean sheets, you'll win a lot more football matches.
Yeah, 100.
That's fact. So he's had a more consistent 11 to pick, which I don't think is very difficult, if I'm being honest with you. So that's no surprise in the upturn in results. But for those Arsenal fans that want to get wise after the event, who've been backed Arteta in, out, shake it all about, just relax yourself. And, you know, we've got some tough games. It's still a long season. It's a very, very long season. So, yeah, I'm not exactly breaking out the bunting yet, if I'm honest.
Also, Albert, I wanted to add, yeah, and this is really important. Just because we're doing decent now doesn't mean your opinion was right at the time when we were having these discussions. Because I'm just going to say this. You have to be a very low level IQ individual to actually believe that you are right to have a certain opinion at a time when we were getting smashed about by Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Seriously, if you actually believe that and you're getting on a high horse about that, also, it's 10 games. Let's just remember that. And we've also had some shocking games this year. It would be different if we'd have played amazing and lost a couple of games, but it was amazing and, you know, we were just unlucky. No, we played shocking in some games. It wasn't unlucky. Then maybe you could have that. You'd have more of a reason to get on a high horse and start speaking about how you love Arteta and da-da-da-da-da. But let's be honest. If I wanted to have an argument with someone about Arteta in and out, based off evidence, I would have a book about this big and they would have a book half as big. There is no one could beat me in an Arteta in or out debate on this whole YouTube thing. And I'm telling you, get anyone on here, I'll pull out a projector on that white wall there and I'll get the stick and I'll get the interactive. Like, trust me, I swear to God, anyone to even think that they can get, like as Albert was saying, get on a high horse about how they knew Arteta this and that. You don't know nothing because it's not even done yet. And I wouldn't be surprised, honest to God, I would not be surprised if he was here even next season. It wasn't here, sorry. We might even have a new manager next season. This guy has to have a good season. Yeah. But then again, you talk about good seasons, people think if we probably come 7th, that it's a great year. So who knows?
True. You know what? I was saying in terms of Arteta, like for me, in terms of like season expectations, you know, for me, we have to get back into Europe. So we have to make, you know, for me, we have to get back into Europe, and I don't want it no roundabout way. I want it, you know, top 6. I want to finish in the top 6, because I've been one of Arteta's critics, you know, throughout the season. Even when we were winning games, I was very critical of the performances. I was very critical of just the way the team were playing, the way they were performing, and even when we were winning games, and I just wasn't convinced. And I'm happy we're winning games again. I'm happy we're climbing the table. But, you know, if you used to ask me, you know, am I Arteta in or out? You know, I'm happy we're winning, but I'm not convinced by the guy. And for me, the jury is very much still out in terms of his future at Arsenal. But yeah, look, we've covered obviously the 5 players that, you know, we set out to cover. We had a little bit of a conversation at the end about Arteta. But yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you to both you, Erin.
Thank you as well. Thank you as well.
No problem. And you, Albert. Just before we kind of round things up, obviously I'm going to give you an opportunity to, you know, let the guys know, you know, who are watching, you know, where they can find you, where they can follow you, you know, find your content, etc. So yeah, over to you guys.
Albert, you go first because you're the active one, innit? You're the one who actually is uploading, so you go first, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. No, thanks for having me on. Like I said, I was always going to come on, man. There's certain people I'll make the time for. So thank you for having me on, man, and meet my bro again as well. So yeah, Albert JTV, very easy to find people. Twitter handle at AMA57. What's coming up on my channel? You know what? It's gonna. People are gonna think I'm talking rubbish, but
doing a lot, man. You're doing a lot, bro. You're doing a lot.
I don't have that big. In terms of schedule wise, it literally is. It's not last minute. I do know what I want to do, but it's just obviously, you know, you're relying on people's time as well. So it's going well. I've been lucky, G, and think the people have been lucky enough to have me on their channel, and you know,
aren't you doing something now with Lee as well?
Yeah, the boys have brought me on, so that's nice of him. Yeah, so I've got my own show on there. So yeah, listen, like my slogan says with my name, man, just another opinion, man.
100, man. And obviously you, Erin, like, you know, I know you said we'll hand over to Albert because he's the active one, but yeah, let the people know where they can find you.
I don't know if you know this, Sheik. Obviously, we haven't only met recently, but N5 there's 2 of us. It's me and Charlie, who Albert has actually met. And so we've been saying we're going to come back for a while, innit?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we'll see. Because we don't like doing online shows. All of our videos, if you go on our channel and the highest viewed, they're all me and him in person. We're all doing everything in person. So if we can do that, we'll do it because that's what we like to do. And if you don't like doing the content you're doing, there's no point being on this platform.
Yeah,
100%.
But,
in terms of like this show here, whenever you want me to be here, I'll be here. Honestly,
I appreciate that, man.
Honestly, it was a good show. It was nice to see you again, Albert. And there's some for me, you know, interestingly enough, there's a good few people in your chat today that used to watch a lot of our shows.
Nice.
So it's really nice to see them in the comments again. And DW, by the way, he's a legend. So thank you for tuning into this show as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he is a legend for real. But yeah, look, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like I say, GTALKS is going to be a regular feature on Can I Chatter TV. We're going to do it every Wednesday, and it will run from probably about 7 to 9. I do prefer earlier shows, but obviously a lot of it just does depend on obviously like guest availability. But I will definitely be hitting you two up again at some point to come again on the show. But look, yeah, massive appreciation. And yeah, thank you to everybody obviously in the comments for tuning in, to listening to us. Like Albert said, you know, it's just another opinion. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. But yeah, that's about it, man. So good evening, guys, and keep chatting.
See you later, everyone.
Arsenal.